So I think a couple of times I've been asked by researchers, is this research or is it audit or service evaluation? So I think we've just got a few examples for you to have a look at and consider. So we've got a healthy volunteer trial. It's quantitative, qualitative analysis, and it's going to inform patient-reported outcomes. So does anybody think that's research, audit or service evaluation? It's research. But because it's healthy volunteers, you don't need to go to the ethics committee as long as you're not using NHS facilities, and you probably won't need R&D permission, but it's worth checking. And this can be reviewed by your university ethics committee. So the next one example is questionnaire study to define care service within no current standard. I think that's probably an easy one. So that's service evaluation, and then service, having a look to see if the service reached a predetermined stage. That's clinical audit. So generally, if you have, the primary aim is to derive generalisable and new knowledge, it's research. And the primary aim is to measure the standards of care, it's audit and service evaluation. Now in the new government, which well actually is now quite an old government, but when they first came into power, they decided they were going to tackle the bureaucracy in research and getting your approvals in place. So they set this agency up, the Health Regulatory Agency, and they are to promote regulation and streamline regulation and research, and they are actually making huge changes which are going to be really good for researchers. The NIHR will actually monitor timelines for NHS trusts. They will look at the NHS permission timelines that we are taking to give researchers their approval. They will then look at the first patient recruiters. So this is actually quite crucial to make sure you understand your timelines. And they will look at making sure that you've met your target recruitment. This actually has an enormous impact on trusts and the money that they get coming through. They can actually be penalised if they don't meet their targets. So there's going to be an awful lot more interaction between the R&D departments and researchers to make sure that the timelines are actually met. So they've actually just been given $4.5 million to implement processes to speed this process up, including ethics officers, which means that when you put your application in for rec review, that you can actually work with somebody to iron out any issues instead of them bouncing it back to you and you having to work on it and then resubmit it. So it's all good. A few pearls of wisdom. Preparation, allow plenty of time to get your trial and your research project as good as possible for your application. Ask lots of questions, talk to people, get as much information beforehand as possible, revise and review, especially your protocol and your patient-related documentation. Control all the versions of your documents. Keep everything in a file wherever, electronic, hard copy, just keep it all. Don't underestimate how long things will take. Setting up running a trial will need organisational skills, an ability to underestimate realistic timelines, pragmatism, good communication skills, a sense of humour. It's a bit like running a marathon. You'll need stamina, pacing, support, endurance, vision. It's all much the same. So if you're thinking about running a marathon, you make sure you've got perfect, good shoes, that you're not going to end up with huge blisters or they're going to fall off your feet. You're going to have enough water along the way. That's your support. And you understand the route. Preparation equals success. Successful research equals publication. And you change practice or you help understand more. Thank you.
Now, it can be quite daunting. There's all these processes to try and get a trial running. So what we're trying to do at the RSTN London Royal College is to have help from these guys who know what they're doing. I put in loads of ethics applications in 20 years, and actually it was quite straightforward 20 years ago. Now the process is far more complicated. They do all these courses, etc. But these teams are here to help us do that. How many people here have put in ethics application recently? They've got a lot. It's quite tricky, isn't it? You need.
You're all shaking your
Yeah,
heads.
it's quite a process, but we're here to help. So thank you very much. Any questions?
But I'd really enjoyed your talk. I just wanted to say, thinking forward, because I've gone through this process, it's important to register your trial as well in the
Yes.
publicly available database.
Yes.
It's one step that often is forgotten.
Yes,
And actually, when
absolutely.
it comes to publication, the editors
Yeah.
would say, a journal, did you register this trial
Absolutely.
before you started
Yeah.
recruiting?
And you need to do that at rec level as well.
At
They
rec
will
level.
actually, they will say to you, have you registered when you fill your form in?
Exactly, and it's
Yeah.
£210 to get registered
Yes.
off the bat, unless
Yeah.
it's an NIHR
Yes.
portfolio, which
Yeah.
is catered for.
Exactly, so it's crucial to check that your study's eligible, and even if you look at the NIHR website and it's not clear, just talk to somebody and say, is it worth putting in? Because all it is just another little application form. If you don't get portfolio status, you're still going through the process anyway, so you're not losing anything.
That's really important. Yeah.
Sorry, this is a completely dumb question. But actually, for somebody who wants to do a trial and answer, let's say, where would I go to register the trial? Because I've done everything else.
Clinicaltrials.gov, it's a sort of catch-all. It's not necessarily clinical trials, but it's a publicly accessible database. But if you speak to your R&D departments, they might have suggestions of other ones, but I think there are going to be others out there.
We have links on our website as well, but the trials units, what they do, they'll have a checklist, they'll have a box, and they have a form, they'll make sure we tick all these things off as we're going through the process. And you're still.
Regarding the CSP, the NHR, HTA, they don't all require requesting ethical approval. For a multi-center trial, it's better to go directly before that. This is not required, which is not so much time. And also, an R&D department can have its own right to say no to an approval of the CPS, the CSP as well.
Your R&D department will probably be able to tell you if it's eligible to go onto the NIHR portfolio, which means that you can use this coordinator system. But yes, they will be the first people to talk to. There is on the NIHR website, there is you can check whether you're eligible. Is that what you wanted to ask?
No, in terms of the NHR does not require to have previous ethical approval for your project. And you said you need to.
No, you can do it all at the same time, so you can apply whilst you're applying for everything else.
I was just wondering if you had any tips on where to find more information online. Obviously, we do the GCP, which everyone should
Yeah.
do if they haven't done already.
So the ethics website is NRES. That's extremely good, and that's actually now controlled by the HRA, which is the Health Research Agency that we were talking about. That's an extremely good website.
David.
Yeah, I always learn a great deal from your talks. I just wondered, pointing to Abby's first point, is it possible to be a bit more explicit about how much help people might get and how they go about it? Because it still looks very daunting to talk like that.
Yeah.
And what sort of practical advice should they have from you?
I think
where they go and how much help they can
Well, I
actually
think your R&D departments or your university, if there's an ethics committee within the university, but if you're working with trusts and you're obviously working with NHS patients, then it's the R&D department in the first instance, which is why I was saying give yourself enough time to talk to enough people, so that because you probably won't get the right people the first time, but they will hopefully help you along the line. But also the surgical trials units, they are one of the five that you've seen that Abby talked about, one of which is in Oxford, are good places to start. You've got a concentration of people with a huge amount of knowledge and experience who can help you.
So we're here to help. So one last question. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Again, a question about the university approval and NHS trust approval. If you're doing a trial involving both the university to develop something, an idea, and then the trust to enact that idea in a patient group, do you need to approach both?
No, you just no. Basically, if you're not using any NHS patients, facilities, if it's healthy volunteers, you're doing it on university premises, you're not an NHS employee, there's nothing that's happening happening within the NHS, you just can go to a University Ethics Committee, your own, if you're affiliated with one, which is an extremely quick process. If it's anything that is touching the NHS in any way, shape or form, you need to go to an NHS Ethics Committee. You don't need to go to both. It's just it's a more it's lengthier and more in-depth process for NHS ethics than the health than the higher education institutes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So next we have Virginia, who's going to talk about statistics.